Hey, everybody! Thanks for tuning in to the Crash Bang Boom podcast. Today's guest is drummer Jono Garrett-Turbid North. Jono has also toured with the Destro, Warbeast, Mondo Generator, Shock Withdrawal, Weedeater, Mondo Generator, Speed Dealer, and more. We get into all the countries he's hit along all these tours, adjusting on the fly to tours with minimal practice, earth-shattering stage volumes, Meshuggah as an influence, and a whole lot more. So I hope y'all enjoy it. Crash Bang Boom podcast can be found where all podcasts are found, and if you like what you hear, please check out any of the previous 300-plus episodes. And if you can, give me a like, a subscription, and or a positive review. That includes all the YouTube clips and videos, etc. Feel free to check me out there as well. So without further ado, here we go. Jono Garrett. Tour stories galore. Always hustling. Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
All right, I'm here with Jono Garrett, or as the Instagram handle goes, what is it, Garrett Jono? I was all confused. I wasn't sure which arrangement of names you were going by these days. But Jono Garrett, Jono, John?
Yeah, somebody took Jono Garrett. So there's a duplicate out there. I don't know who he is, but...
Okay. It's interesting how I found out about you. I've got a network of friends that are always sending me music links and such that range anywhere from ridiculous to heavy to obscure to, everything in between and then some. But one of them sent me the Turbid North record that came out in 2023. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. It kind of starts off doomy and then gets progressively faster and heavier. It's a really cool record. And then I was like, who's playing drums on this? And I think that's ultimately how I found out about you. So that's what led to this, believe it or not.
Yeah, that was the Decline was the record probably. Turbid North, The Decline.
Yeah, are those guys all based out of Texas?
No, funny enough, that band was originally from Fairbanks, Alaska.
Oh.
And they had moved from Alaska to Fort Worth mid-2000s. And then slowly... several member changes. I got involved with those dudes about 2011.
Wow.
Did some touring, did a record, Eyes Alive, before the Decline.
Uh-huh.
And we kind of morphed into a three-piece. So there's a bass player, guitar player, singer, and myself. And the bass player is actually English. The guitar player is from Fairbanks, and then I'm from Dallas.
Okay, so there are origins that stem back to Alaska with that band. Is Turbid North, is that a reference? Is that an Alaskan reference?
It is, yeah, with the weather, the elements, all that stuff. So,
damn, have they told you some interesting stories, or at least the remaining member from Alaska, about fucking growing up there?
Yeah, I believe pretty unique experience. They have the extended daylight or extended darkness.
Right.
They can actually see like the northern lights and everything. And so the first record they put out was a concept record, but it was like all survival, like a survivalist story.
Yeah.
And all the artwork is inspired by, Alaska and the elements, all that stuff.
Damn, dude. Have you played a show with that band in Alaska by any chance?
So ironically, not with Turbid North, but with other bands I've played in Alaska before.
Oh, damn. We'll have to get into that. With the Decline, where did y'all record that? Because it sounds pretty huge, pretty crazy. It's a pretty killer sounding record.
Yeah, that was so that was actually tracked in 2017.
Okay.
We tracked the drums in our old rehearsal spot, which was actually a pretty good sized room. So we did get some nice room sound.
Okay.
But we didn't actually put the record out and tour it until 2023. So
right, when it came out. So there was like a 6-year gap there.
Yeah, there was a good gap on that one.
What happened with the gap between recording it and ultimately releasing it?
So I was involved in other bands, the bass player as well. These other bands, the touring took priority.
Yeah.
The guitar player actually mixes all the records. So I think he had plenty of time just to work on the record, and there was no rush to get it out. And then obviously 2020 happens.
Yep.
And then finally we got a little anxious, finished it up, and did some touring behind the record. So better late than never for sure. But it did take a while.
Yeah. I mean, when I've talked to people that have kind of those delayed releases like that, especially, 6 years is a long time. When it came time to put it out and you revisited it, were you still happy with everything that you played on it? Or did it feel like sometimes when time kind of lapsed like that, you're like, damn, I wish I would have done this, that, and the other. But I don't personally hear on that anything like that. But I know as the player in yourself, sometimes,
So, like I make a really conscious effort to try to articulate all my parts really well and demo everything out really well so that I don't feel like, I could have done something better. I think you always do, but I tried not to anymore.
Yeah.
But I also rehearsed that material a ton between the time we did it and the time it came out. So some of it's fairly difficult to play. So I have to keep it in my rehearsal routine.
Right. Yeah, between some of the blast beat stuff and there's some burning double bass on it too. I guess it's always nice to have both songs that you can play that you'll actually be out and playing, so to speak, as opposed to just running through like 16th note exercises against a grid or a particular BPM. You're like, I actually have to play these songs. So it attaches like a musicality to the exercise, so to speak. So was that something that you found in going through it?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And then there's a lot of dynamics within those songs. There's really slow, pummeling stuff. Then there's really excited, kind of grindier things. So just having to switch between the styles and keep the finesse and all that, I just have to work on it constantly, or it's impossible.
It's good to hear you say that because, often in the Instagram world where you can always grab 30 seconds of a performance or something and you're like, there you go, I nailed it, y'all saw it. I'm guilty of doing the same.
Right.
It's good to know that you're admitting that you actually had to keep that shit up to be able to play it, because when I hear it, I'm like, some of it is mega intense.
The older I get, the more I have to practice. I just have to keep practicing.
Yeah.
40.
Okay, you're getting up there, dude. I'm 48. I got you by a few years, but you're older than I've spoken to drummers that are still in their, just turned 20. And they're like, yeah, I'm just kind of getting into this. I'm like, holy shit, man. That was 28 years ago for me. God damn.
Dude, I feel the age, especially because I started really early. I started gigging out when I was 15.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I spent 6 years in bars before I could even, buy beer. Now it's starting to feel like a long time.
You mentioned before we hit the record button that you're in Dallas presently. Is that where you're originally from there?
Yeah, from North Texas.
Gotcha. You mentioned playing in bands when you were 15. What kind of music were you playing at the time?
Those were metal bands. Yeah, we started a band when I was 15 and eventually got a record deal, did some touring with the same guys I grew up with till about 2009.
Wow.
But we spent a lot of time in the DFW scene before getting out nationally and stuff. So I many years here downtown playing shows.
Right. What was the name of the band? That's crazy that at a young age getting out there and playing with your friends that you got a record deal.
That band was called the Destro. Kind of like a heavy, groove influenced metal, a la Crowbar, Soilent Green, Napalm Death, kind of.
All right, 2/3 of those are New Orleans bands, where I'm from, so I'll take it.
Oh, that's right. You're a New Orleans guy, right?
Yeah. That's cool, man. I want to definitely talk about some of the bands that you've been touring with, as you mentioned earlier, sort of going out on these tours. I've been seeing some of the guys you've been going out with, which has been crazy. But I guess after the Destro, what was one of the bands maybe that you started going out with or touring with around that time? Because just to give it a rundown, I think Shock Withdrawal is one, Speed Dealer was one, you did a Mondo Generator one. Did you play with Weedeater, or did I make that up? Did I mix that up with Speed Dealer?
No, I did a European tour last year.
Crazy. Okay. So those are just 4 of the bands that you've toured with on and off in the past few years.
Yeah, right after the Destro was Turbid North.
Gotcha.
And then there was a handful of bands from Dallas. Apparently, dude, my number gets around. If you need a guy last minute, I get a phone call. But I went out with Warbeast with it was the first Phil Anselmo on the Illegals tour. We did a U.S. tour. That was really cool.
Okay.
after that, around 2015, I hooked up with a band from Seattle called Mondo Generator.
Okay.
And did a lot of international touring with those dudes for like 7 years.
Wow. Not to be confused with Mondo Generator.
Exactly.
2 bands. Okay.
I don't know how I pulled that one off, but Mondo Generator is a lot more recent, like from last year.
Yeah. You mentioned, I know we're kind of bouncing around all over the place here, but you mentioned going to Alaska with the band. Was it any of the aforementioned bands that we just talked about? Did you go to Alaska with any of those bands?
It was with Mondo Generator, and they're based out of Seattle, so that's a 4-hour flight. It's not too bad.
That makes more sense. Okay.
Yep.
How was it playing in Alaska? And I mean, how's the scene there? Is it cool? Like, people are into it?
Yeah, it's small, dude. There was one joint, Chilkoot Charlie's, and they would constantly bring in bands for entertainment. But I feel like the enthusiasm's high there, dude. Not a lot of bands make the effort. So when bands make it up there, people are enthusiastic. They're pretty excited about it.
That's cool, man. I have not been to Alaska, much less going to play shows and seeing any kind of like rock scene in Anchorage or anything, but it's cool to hear that. And that does totally make sense. I mean, it's pretty much the same way I think that the smaller towns that you can hit throughout the States, maybe sometimes the crowds might not be as big, but the enthusiasm is generally pretty damn high because not many bands come through, So I get it. That's awesome.
If you make the effort, people, they tend to appreciate it.
Right. With Shock Withdrawal, that's another band. Have you done some touring with them, or was that just recording?
Yeah, we did actually last year. So the full length came out last year, and we did some touring behind that. And that's an all original project of mine and a few friends. But that's also like most of these gigs I have, it's all remote. So like I recorded all that material in my studio, and the members live in different parts of the country.
Crazy. That too, pretty extreme. So I would imagine, is that some of that material also in the practice regimen to keep up all the blasting and double bass and all that shit?
Every day, dude. Every day, man. I get rusty real fast, dude. If I don't practice it, I don't have it. It's not there. So.
I mean, with the Destro, when you were 15, it sounds like you mentioned some of the bands that you were into. I mean, there's definitely some of the early Soilent Green stuff had that kind of blasting, kind of grindcore stuff happening in it. Come time to do either the Turbid North stuff or the Shock Withdrawal material, was there any drummers that you started listening to that were more in that vein, or seeing locally, or any of that maybe inspired you to get into more and more kind of extreme playing?
Yeah, Tommy Buckley for sure, of Soilent Green.
Gotcha.
Was always a huge influence, It's all the power and speed in the world, dude. He's an awesome drummer. Being younger and being into metal, like you're always into your Dave Lombardos and your Gene Hoglan's and all that stuff. But then kind of finding extreme metal so young, dude, those drummers would just blow your mind.
Right.
What was the guy, is it Brad Elrod? I think he was on the Today is the Day, Temple of the Morning Star, like really tasteful stuff, but in the extreme context.
Mm-hmm.
Finding Meshuggah in the late 90s, like before Chaosphere came out.
Right, so Destroy, Erase, Improve, like that era.
Just to hear like somebody like injecting all that groove and such an intense style of music. Was being a drummer was like really exciting.
Yeah. To
mimic that, I guess. It's so influential. You try to create your own version.
Right. That's funny you mentioned Meshuggah. I remember the first time I heard them, we were out at my parents' house at the time, and my buddy brought over 2 cassettes. He was always hipping me. Same today when friends are sending me links of crazy shit. He had 2 cassettes. One was Meshuggah's None, which I think is only 4 songs, and relatively more straightforward, I would say, than even what they started to do on Destroy, Erase, Improve. But even at that, I was like kind of perplexed. And we listened to all 4 songs. I was like, wow, that was intense. He goes, wait until you hear the first song off of what they put out after this. And they had just put out Destroy, Erase, Improve. And he played that for me. And it comes in with the alarm clock fucking guitar starting there. And then the rhythms definitely threw me off. It was unlike anything that I had ever heard prior to that.
Yeah, for sure, man. And dude, so so original, right? Like
Yeah.
so original to hear that for the first time. And I got Chaos Fear when it came out, dude, and I would just study the rhythms, you know. I couldn't believe like what I was hearing.
Right.
So or when a younger dude, like I'd say like fairly big influence. I don't nowadays, like to me, like they own that style. So it's really odd when I hear other bands that like, they've made entire genres out of just kind of like
Absolutely.
copying this Meshuggah style. So like almost out of pure respect, dude, I just let Meshuggah have that. I don't try to do the, you know, the really cool double bass rhythmic stuff anymore. And that's, you know, to me, it's like that's theirs.
Right.
And oddly enough, they don't do much of that anymore. It's more single note syncopated rhythmic stuff.
Correct.
I think their guitars are tuned so low, like it's just.
You might be right about that. I know Tomas Haake, I believe, if I'm saying it right. He had said that they don't play some of that older stuff even because he struggles a little bit with some of the double bass parts. So I think it's easier for him, sort of as you're saying, rather than the super broken up 16th note stuff or whatever. You know, just kind of like driving through it, which he's fucking amazing at. You know,
powerhouse, dude.
Yeah.
And I mean, the chops on his hands are incredible too, man. Super tasteful, you know.
Yeah. I saw when you mentioned Chaos Fear earlier, the song that always gets me is the breakdown on Corridor of Chameleons. I think it's the third song or so. The riff on that, to me, they've written obviously throughout time, no shortage of fucking crazy, crazy riffs. That's one that is like maybe a little more straightforward in reference to like how crazy they can get. But man, every time it comes on, I'm just fist pumping. It's so killer. I love it.
They nailed it, dude. Whatever they came up with, man, that's again, like there's entire genres that have just copped their sound, you know.
Absolutely.
Very successful bands that are just doing Meshuggah.
A lot of them at that. It's crazy. You mentioned getting a last minute call. What's one of the shorter windows that you've had to learn material and ultimately go out and go on a tour?
Oh, dude. Well, definitely the Weedeater. Last year, so Dixie called me about midnight on a Monday and asked if I could be in Germany on Friday. And I said, yeah, no sweat. Send me a set list.
Wow.
So he sent me a set list, and he called me back on Tuesday. He said, hey, never mind. We're not going. I said, all right, no sweat. And then he called me back on Wednesday. He said, never mind, we're still going.
Oh, shit.
So
you had 2 days?
2 days on that one, dude. And I met those dudes at the airport in Germany, and we had the headline a festival that night.
Oh, my God.
So their management had booked a rehearsal spot. So we went from the airport to this rehearsal spot to hit the set right before the show. And if you're familiar with Weedeater, dude, they're the loudest band.
It's fucking crazy loud. Yeah, it's so loud. Yeah.
Amps are dime, full stack. So we start jamming, dude, and the bass amp burst into flames. It was so loud.
Oh, God.
Caught on fire, you know. So we didn't make it through the entire rehearsal, but we were on stage that night. But yeah, 2 days to learn like an hour's worth of material.
Damn. I mean, I suppose the biggest thing with that is that it's pretty loosey-goosey feel-wise and pretty slow. So you got to be careful not to rush it and still know the parts and the sequence of the parts. So, I mean, damn, did you just practice your ass off for 2 days straight? Just like, holy shit, I hope I have it as good as I can have it.
Yeah, dude, I've kind of got a process where I've got my own shorthand, so I go through and I kind of chart out songs.
Okay.
Honestly, the hardest part, dude, is just remembering the name of a song.
Totally.
Like identifying, you know, like from the set list. Like it's just harder for me to, you know, to make those connections. So I tend to like kind of like name them. I give them my own names. Because the recall's a lot faster. It went well, but yeah, dude, it was intense trying to cram all that information in at once. But
wow, how many shows did y'all play?
It was 2 weeks.
Okay,
probably around 12 shows, I think.
Was it tough acclimating yourself to the stage volume alone?
Dude, absolutely. Easily the loudest fucking band I've ever jammed with.
Jesus.
Yeah, like it was loud, dude. It was loud. But, you do the festivals and it's not that big of a deal, but you get in the clubs.
Oh, man. Crazy. With the Mondo Generator, the other Generator band, not to be confused again with Moss Generator, that still blows my mind. I was actually thinking that it was Mondo Generator and they had some sort of a copyright issue, so they just called it Moss Generator. I was actually thinking it was possibly the same band. Didn't occur to me that it could have been two, but with Mondo Generator, the album that I'm familiar with was one of the older ones. It's got that song Uncle Tommy or something like that. It's like
yeah, Cocaine Rodeo.
Cocaine Rodeo, yes, that's the one. Thank you. Definitely high energy punk rock, less like double bass / grindy stuff, but definitely like in the intense hardcore kind of super fucking high energy punk rock vein, right?
Yeah, that's what's really fun about their material, man, is they do push into those realms. So there's some high energy type, tempos. And then there's like way more like in the cut, laid back, heavy rock and kind of anthemic rock parts. And we do like some Caius tunes.
Of course.
Live, there's a couple of Caius tunes. There's some Queen songs.
Nice.
And so it's a fun set, super fun set.
Where did y'all play? Where did you go with them?
I did a European tour with those guys and then a Mexican tour.
Oh, wow. How was Mexico?
It was cool, man. It was a trip. It was all border towns.
Really?
So like it was a trip, dude. But again, like when you show up to those towns, man, the enthusiasm is so freaking high. Especially Tijuana or Juarez. We did Chihuahua, Mexicali, Tecate. You wouldn't assume, there's a scene for any of that stuff.
Right.
But it's small and it's an enthusiastic scene, so.
Damn. Were any of those shows like bizarre and or like felt dangerous at any point?
I always felt the element.
Yeah.
I've gone to Mexico most of my life though, you know what I mean? I've been there several times, but traveling anywhere, I try to keep, my ears and eyes open.
Yeah.
But then you've heard the stories obviously about Mexico.
Yeah.
And then from what I hear, dude, is you don't sell drugs and you don't get in trouble.
Okay.
That's where the trouble comes in, you know what I mean?
What about buying drugs? That's probably okay. Just don't sell them.
I've heard strange stories like you can only buy 2 kinds of drugs. And if anybody has anything else, that's when you see the beheadings.
Jesus Christ. Damn, dude. And then you said the other Mondo Generator tour, that was a European tour?
Yeah, we did about a month in Europe last year in April.
Nice. Where just like the usual, what was it, England, Spain, France, Germany? Did you go to the Netherlands or any like crazy shit like that?
Yeah. There was some cool places. We actually went to Sofia, Bulgaria.
Oh, wow. Huh. I mean, Bulgaria, I'm assuming that's got to be Eastern Europe. So did y'all go anywhere beyond that, or was that about as far out that way that you did?
Yeah, that's as far east, and that was a flight. It was a fly-in.
Oh, okay. How was the crowd there? What was Bulgaria like?
Amazing, dude.
Really?
Yeah, they're hard rockers, dude. I've played in Athens in Greece before, and ironically enough, I recognize the promoters from Greece. So it's like same thing down there, dude. It's the scenes they're alive everywhere, man. You just got to show up, right?
That's awesome. I found that I've talked about it before throughout the years, having played in Germany before. It was interesting because you don't always get the sense that the Germans are super into it. They can be pretty stoic, and even in like complimenting you, almost seeming like backhandedly complimenting you. But
they're
then
very, very analytical.
Yeah, but then when you stop, like you get it, and then when you're like, are you about to get off the stage, they'll start chanting like they want more, and you're like, oh, all right, y'all are into this. And then when you talk to them, like their English is pretty damn good, and they can tell you how much of a good time they had and everything. And I loved Germany, man. We played a few shows and just popping around Germany, I was like, this country is awesome. I loved it there, man. Czech Republic, too. We went to the Czech Republic, played in Prague one night. Prague was super cool, too. it was such a relief from grinding and playing, bullshit shows and everything in between in the States to go over there and feel like as a relatively unknown band to be so appreciated.
Yeah, man. I've always said it's bigger on a smaller level. It tends to be way more organized.
That's what everybody says.
Much more hospitality. The crowds are always good,
I hear you.
I think I did 19 countries last year.
Damn.
And most of them were obviously Europe.
Yeah. That's a hell of a lot of countries, dude. Do you know about how many shows you played last year then?
Probably under 100. Not too many.
Okay. That's a good bit of traveling, though.
Dude, my passport is lit up, man. Like, it's filling up. It's filling up pretty fast.
When are you going to be going out of town again?
Currently, no plans, dude, but I feel like this is when the phone calls kind of start happening.
Yep.
Because everything's shaping up for the summer. Usually the bigger festivals and all that stuff. It's good season. Tour season is the summertime and fall time. And every year, dude, I say I want to do less, and I end up doing more. But I mean, no complaints, but
With Speed Dealer, I think that's one of the only other bands that we didn't really talk about. What was your connection with them, and like what was your time, touring with them?
Speed Dealer, they're from Dallas, so I know all those guys, and just like every other scenario, the drummer just couldn't commit to the duration of touring behind that. It was only available to do X amount of days a year. So they asked if I'd be interested in doing any more extensive touring, and I love that band, dude. I grew up listening to that band. I used to see those dudes in town in the early 2000s play all the time.
Mm-hmm.
As of now, they have the original drummer still involved with the band. I just came in as a touring guy for about 5 years, jam with those dudes, and that's a whole different trip, man, because their songs are like a minute and a half, so their sets are like 30 songs.
Wow.
Like a Weedeater set is like 9 songs, and then like a Speed Dealer set is like 30. So I'm trying to remember all those names.
Yeah, I bet. Oh my God. So you did mention earlier, like starting playing clubs and everything around 15, prior to even before you could drink and whatnot. But I guess, did you grow up playing in school band or anything like that? Or did you pretty much just get a drum set, kind of hit the ground running and sort of cut your teeth, so to speak, in just playing live and getting out and playing in bands?
I did a few years of the concert band and a couple years of the marching band.
Okay.
But then when I was about 15, started playing out live, and that just kind of took over. So I dropped the educational route and just, like you said, cut my teeth in the live scene. So.
Did you come from a musical family?
So my brother played drums.
Okay.
He played guitar and drums, and I think that's what kind of sparked my interest. He brought a drum set home. I still remember, dude, it was a Tom Grant Star. It had like that interior coating on it. But
right.
The coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life, you know what I mean? And I think that sparked the interest, and I just stuck with it, dude.
Yeah. Assuming you're not flying out and renting gear on any of these runs with any of these bands, do you have a go-to kit that you play for like local shows, or if it's a tour that leaves Dallas and comes back, et cetera,
So I've got a couple kits. I spent half the year in Boston as well. So I actually have drums in Boston. I've got drums in Dallas, and I had some drums in Seattle. But currently, dude, it's all the Ludwig Classic Maple.
Okay.
I own some DW Collectors. Those are really nice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Gretsch snare drums, USA Custom Gretsch. Probably my favorite few brands there.
Nice. Well, John, man, it was good talking to you, dude. Appreciate it. It's fun running down all the bands you've been playing with and hustling and touring and everything else, man. It sounds like you've had one hell of a busy schedule last year, and God only knows, it sounds like it could be ramping up yet again. But thanks again for your time, man. It was fun talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for the chat. I listen to the podcast all the time.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Well, man, have a good one. Good luck in 2025.
Sounds good, bud.
All right, that does it for this one. Thanks to Jono for catching up. talking about all the tours, man. Dude's been hustling the hell out of him out there. Hopefully I'll catch him on one, and I hope to catch y'all on the next one. Stay tuned. Crash, bang, boom.